Hi, this is Robert Kiyosaki, and you're listening to Capital Hacking. This is the most important thing you can listen to today.
Here's the one.
I have a dream.
With great power comes great responsibility.
I could do this all day.
This is it. Don't get scared now.
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
Cinderella story out of nowhere.
It's in the hole. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Capital Hacking begins in 3, 2, 1.
Let it rain down. It is a great day. Welcome back to Capital Hacking. John, I want to try something new, confuse you. I did the double tomahawk thrust.
He came in with the double tomahawk. If you guys are listening and didn't see us.
Yeah, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know it hit you.
Well, we take a trip down south today with Kurt Buchert. He grew up in New Orleans. He talks about it and talks about how he used to make something called king cakes, which I have never heard of in my life. And so he's going to explain what king cakes are and how he started buying real estate there. And it's a really fascinating conversation.
Powerful story. I would say, just think of this, a young guy who's burdened by the question, how can you make money and not have to work anymore? And he turned that, I mean, he worked hard, by the way, but he turned that, let's call it that deep question, into a journey ultimately to freedom. I think we can learn a lot from this episode.
Let's go.
Is it really my lucky day? I guess it is, because I'm looking at Kurt. John, great job getting Kurt on the big show.
Yeah, you got to wrangle him sometimes off the pickleball court when he's wearing his pink shoes and he's winning championships and all that good stuff. So welcome to the big show, Kurt. Can you give us a background of who you are?
Man, I'm really happy to be here. So my name is Kurt Buchert. I grew up in New Orleans. I'm 47 years old. Lived in New Orleans my whole life until COVID hit. And then my wife and 4 kids, well, we had 3 kids at the time. Now we have 4. We moved to the Florida Panhandle, which is about 4.5 hours east of New Orleans. So we live right east of Destin, Florida. A lot of people be familiar with Destin, great beach town down here in Florida. Beautiful white sand and emerald, bluish, greenish water. Yeah, it's very striking. It's awesome.
It is awesome.
So yeah, we moved here in 2020. Great place to live. We were trying to escape COVID insanity and crime and a lot of things that people were trying to escape in 2020. And we pulled the ripcord and we came over here and we've never looked back. It's been awesome.
That is awesome.
I mean, every time I see you, you're always very, very happy, and it seems like that move to Florida was exactly what you needed.
Yeah, it was just one of those. I think God was speaking to me over a couple of years, and when COVID hit, and I kind of knew New Orleans would go insane with it, and we were just not going to do it. So we were not going to put our kids in masks. We were just not going to play the game. And over here, they weren't doing any of it. So it was awesome. So we lived pretty normal lives throughout the whole deal until you'd go to an airport or something. And then it would just be, or go to another city, and then it would just be like another world. So, yeah.
Yeah. But, what we love about you is we've gotten to know you on the peripheral. First of all, I think you were one of the earliest devotee fans of Capital Hacking. And I think I won you over with that handsome shirt. And I see
it's
Kurt,
a great shirt. It's a great workout shirt.
He wears our shirt all the time, John. All over the Florida.
It's a good fit.
Capital Hacking.
He's out promoting Capital. But I agree with John. You have the best energy, brother, whenever we're in a group setting. So thank you for getting on the big show. Let's bring that energy now, and let's teach the world some cool stuff. Kurt, I know you own King Cake Real Estate. Now, I always thought a king cake is that thing around Easter time, but you're saying it's around Mardi Gras, where there's a baby Jesus or a little Jesus statue inside of cake. And us Northerners don't even know what we're talking about, but all the Southerners know what I'm talking about. So what is king cake?
It's a traditional, it came over from France originally. Mardi Gras was a big European thing, and we had a big French population in New Orleans and Louisiana. So Mardi Gras came over with the French, and they always did this pastry cake thing. New Orleanians kind of made it their own and made it like a big cake with lots of sugar, lots of frosting, and they put a baby Jesus in it. And whoever bites into the baby Jesus, you have to buy the next king cake. That's kind of the rule. I always thought that was cool. And I actually grew up directly across the street from the guy that owns the most famous king cake company in New Orleans, Randazzo's. And I actually worked at a king cake bakery in high school for a little while. So I used to make king cakes, and that was a really tough job, but it taught me a lot. And I just kind of always liked king cakes.
How
All right.
big is the baby Jesus? Case, is it choking hazard?
No, it's
Dude, it actually kind of is a choking hazard. I'm actually surprised it's like legal still. At some point, some of the bakeries were like putting the baby Jesus on the side, and you'd have to put it yourself in the cake. But people like went crazy over that, and they were like, "No, that's dumb." So they started putting them back in the cake. So yeah, it's kind of a choking hazard, but I've never heard of anyone dying from. That would be very ironic if you just died from choking on a baby Jesus. It'd be an interesting way to die.
Here's the deal. So we're Northerners, and my boy Kurt is a beautiful Southerner. I have family in the South now because of marriage, and we love how special our friends from New Orleans are. But you're right. Like, this is like a big deal, this king cake stuff. They'll send them to us because they love us and we love them. They'll send us one every year. So we have
It's
one
a
year
big
we have a
business.
king cake.
Yeah, they are not healthy at all, but they taste really good.
Yeah. And by the way, since you're teach us the one last secret here. We've got to dig in on how you make a king cake. You take the cake, you bake it, then you shove the baby in it. Not before, right? You don't
Not
cook the
before.
baby in there,
No,
right?
no, it's plastic,
Right.
so you don't want to cook the baby
And
beforehand.
then you put icing over where the hole is in the cake. No one knows.
Yeah, and the key is you have to, and I didn't know this when I first worked there. I started putting the icing on the cakes as soon as they came out of the oven, and then the owner thought I was the biggest moron in the world because the cakes were hot, so all the icing just melted off. You have to wait for the cakes to cool, and then you put the icing on so the icing doesn't all fall away.
There you go.
There you go.
Everything you need to know. But that's part of the special sauce of being a Southern. I mean, New Orleans has all that great culture. Tell us,
yeah.
why did you call your real estate company King Cake? Is there some connection to cake in your business, or just your love for King Cake?
I was just, most of my real estate's in New Orleans. I was just
There you go.
thinking of a catchy New Orleans name, and I worked at a king cake place. I like king cake. I just thought it'd be catchy.
So then,
that
what
was it.
is the type of real estate you do, brother? What does it look like?
So main bread and butter is long-term rentals in New Orleans. So got about 40 something units there, and those are all long-term rentals. And then I also have a few short-term rentals here in Florida, and then also one in Colorado. And I manage all those myself. I have a business partner on some of them in New Orleans and the one in Colorado. But I do all the management myself. So I manage the Airbnbs, manage the long-term rentals. I have a couple of real estate agents in New Orleans that lease the places for me. I finally gave up control of leasing the places last year, which was the best thing I ever did, because that was kind of a weight on my shoulders, especially doing it from afar. So I've given up that. I've always had trouble giving up control, but I gave up that control a little bit.
I have a curious question. Is that a difficult place to have like a tenant law? Is tenant law tricky in New Orleans?
No, it's actually
landlord
pretty
law?
good because it's in the state of Louisiana. So Louisiana is a very conservative state. New Orleans is a very liberal city and a conservative state. Think of Austin inside of Texas.
Yeah.
So Austin benefits from being kind of the cultural capital, but they're surrounded by a red state, which keeps them sane.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a good thing about having some properties in New Orleans. You're protected by Louisiana in general. Because if it was just up to New Orleans, it'd be a horrible place to own property.
And Kurt, what took you from making king cakes to getting into real estate and buying doors?
So, I was always entrepreneurial. I was one of those kids that collected aluminum cans when I was a kid. Always had little knick-knack businesses. I studied finance at LSU, became a financial advisor. I was always interested in the concept of making money by not working was like the most amazing thing in my brain. Like I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. So anything with like stocks where you could get dividends or real estate when like, you could buy something and they would just pay you rent forever. That just like blew my brain away. So about, I guess 22 years ago, I bought my first property. It was a duplex in New Orleans, and I lived on one side and rented out the other side, and the other side paid the entire mortgage plus a little bit more. And I was like, dude, why doesn't everybody do this? This is awesome. And then just slowly started buying more over time, just a few a year, and yeah, just kind of built it from there. When Katrina hit in 2005, I think I had 6 units in New Orleans or 7 units. And luckily I didn't have any like catastrophic damage. But at the time I was living in Dallas. I was a financial advisor. My company had moved me there after Katrina and lived there for a year. And I kind of wanted to move back to New Orleans, kind of help the city and start a business or something. And I ended up starting a spray foam insulation business.
Good idea.
So, because I thought anything in construction would make a lot of money and could help the city. So I started that in 2006, and it almost failed in the first 60 days. Like I made every single mistake you could make. But then I turned it around and became a very profitable business. We insulated like 3,000 homes. And I was kind of smart with the money. Like I would spend a decent amount, but looking back, I really didn't spend much, and I just put all that money into real estate. So I was doing renovations to properties, paying cash, had a crew, and was just buying old flooded houses and renovating them and renting them out. And I kept most of them. I've sold a decent amount of stuff over time, but I kept a lot of them, and they're pretty low leveraged. So yeah, it's just cash flowed for years.
What a great. Yeah, I was going to ask, what was your secret sauce of how did you acquire? Because, there's always got to be some way to leverage your talent to get all those properties. It's not easy to just have that much cash. And your angle was coming back to New Orleans and running a business. Now, did you give up your financial advisory during that time?
I did. Yeah, I was a CFP. So I was a certified financial planner, and I had a bunch of other designations that I worked really hard for and studied hard and took all those tests and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears doing that. But yeah, I gave it up. I went all in on that business for 7 years. And I had to, because I put all my money into it. And I was like, this thing is not going to fail, dude. I pulled all the money out of my Roth IRA and my 401k. And I was like, this is not going to fail. And I just kind of, really put it together. And we've made a big success out of it.
Did you sell it? Or do you still have it? Or did you shut it down?
So that's one huge regret. So I didn't know anything back then. So I ran it for 7 years, and I got so burnt out that I was just mentally done with this business. So I did the stupidest thing ever. I purposely shrunk the business. Like at one point we had like 4 trucks, and we were rolling every day with 4 trucks. Purposely shrunk it down to 1 truck. And then I was still getting burnt out. And then I found a guy that just kind of took it over for me.
Right.
For around like, it ended up being like $200,000. But if I would have sold it a couple years earlier with 4 trucks going and making the money we were making, I probably could have sold it for like $2 million. Wow. So I really left a lot of money on the table because, dude, I just didn't know. I didn't think like that back then. I just thought you start a business to make cash flow.
Yep.
I didn't think anything about equity or selling the business. Like the whole build to sell deal with a business, like it just was not on my radar at that age. And looking back, I should have gotten somebody's advice, but it is what it is. No regrets, but that's what happened.
Is your wife involved in your business with you?
So she's not involved in my real estate business, but she 2.5 years ago, her sister and herself started a Pilates business over here where we live now in Florida, and they now have 2 studios. I financed it for them, so I'm kind of a passive investor in the business. I give unsolicited advice, aka mansplaining, which they never want to hear. But yeah, it's growing. Man, they're doing so well. They're about to do a 3rd studio. We just toured a piece of real estate for a 3rd studio out here. So they're doing awesome. I'm very proud of her, very proud of her sister. And they just they had never had any business background, and they just started a business, and man, it's doing great.
Just on that, do you mind if I ask? So when you look at this real estate, one of the things a guy like me, when you talk about retail businesses like that, I get nervous about those leases for some reason. So how do you mitigate that risk, or are you buying the buildings? What are you doing with those leases? How many years are you committing to? What kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I mean that's definitely one of the risks. I mean, I think the first one they signed a 5-year lease with 2 5-year options to renew. And yeah, it's a little scary. I mean, if your business fails, which a lot of them do in the first year, I mean,
Right.
you're stuck on that lease. So, I made them commit. I was like, y'all gotta make this happen, because like this is, money we put into this business. Like, I basically loaned their business the money. I was like, you owe me
Right.
money. You
Yeah.
better make it work. And but we were confident. I mean, I was confident in them. My wife's just got an awesome personality. She's a hustler. She was in the sales business back in the day.
Oh, that'll be great.
And then her sister just had a great fitness background too. And they, we were just filling a need here where we live. There was just not much competition. So I knew they were going to succeed, and I had a feeling, and it's just worked out awesome. I mean, they like paid back all the money for the first studio within like a year and a half, and they'll be finished paying me back for the second studio probably in the next 9 or 10 months.
That is great.
Wow.
Yeah.
And another question, because I like to dig in around families. What do you do to engage your kids into having that entrepreneurial spirit that you were talking about?
So yeah, I was actually talking to my wife about that yesterday, because my daughter has helped them at the studio just a little bit, but she's like, so she's our second child. She's almost 9. So I was like, Erica, man, in a few years, like she could probably like be one of your instructors, or at least work the front desk. I was like, I want her to be in there and learn how the business works, and learn that going to college and working for somebody else is definitely not the only way to live life. Because my wife and I are very focused on like freedom and time freedom, and not. I mean, y'all know me. Like, I never want to have a situation where I'm scared to voice my opinion because like I'm gonna get fired or canceled or something. Like that's not the way I live. That's not the way I want my kids to live.
Hi, this is Melanie McCallan. Josh and I are just so grateful for the many investors who have already joined us at Accountable Equity. Accountable Equity is so much more than a capital group. It's really a community of accredited investors that want to learn and grow together. I just want to personally invite you, if you want to find out more about this type of investment and see if it's right for you and your family, please visit us at accountableequity.com.
Hey, it's Hal Elrod, author of The Miracle Morning, and you're listening to Capital Hacking. Enjoy.
But my son's very entrepreneurial. He's had a little like garbage business, like where we have a lot of short-term rentals around the beach, and he had a little business. He would, few people, he would take their garbage cans in and out on garbage days because they're not here to do it. So he did that. I mean, they sell stuff in the neighborhood. Like they'll go and like do garage sales in the neighborhood, sell lemonade. So they hustle, and it's fun to watch them because actually want to earn a buck. So
I love that. Kurt, what's the the future like at this point? Sounds like you from an outsider's point of view, listening to this, I feel inspired that you grabbed that chance and did what you did in New Orleans. But are you going to grow another business? Like, what's the next few years look like for Kurt?
So right now, I'm thinking about selling some properties in New Orleans. Margins are getting a little tighter. The insurance has gone up a lot. Property taxes has gone up a lot. Thinking about selling some there. And, I think we're going to start doubling down on my wife's business a little bit. It's just going so well. And maybe doing a few more studios for them. And then this time, doing the build to sell model. I mean, it's not something they want to sell, but like if something, if they had a decent amount of studios and some private equity came calling a few years from now, I mean, it would be something they would consider, I'm sure. So yeah, I mean, I'm putting would like to put more money into the hot thing that's really working for us
That's
really
great.
well. I mean, I'm a real estate guy deep down, so like I always want to have some real estate. I mean, I like having the short-term rentals, the ones that I have cash flow really well, and I kind of enjoy that business a little bit more than the long-term rentals. But the long-term rentals have always been steady for me. So I mean, I had my first house I ever bought in 2003. I mean, that's 22 years.
It's awesome.
So I've earned rent. I mean, I've maybe had like one. Actually, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if I've had 1 month vacant in that house in 22 years.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. I'm dead serious. Like, I don't think I've had a month vacant in that house in 22 years,
That's fantastic.
which is crazy.
And, another thing that I really appreciate and respect about you is that you take your health very seriously. I think, what did you do? Like an Ironman or a half Ironman a couple years ago?
Yeah, I've done a half Ironman. I was getting into that. I did one ultra, which was like it was a 50K. So what is that? 32 miles.
32 miles. Yeah.
Did that about a year and a half ago, but I've really gotten into pickleball. So I play a ton of pickleball, ton of tournaments. Like this morning I was in my buddy's sauna and, we were doing the sauna and it just snowed here 6 inches, which is like once in a lifetime thing. Like, so the whole city's just like freaking out. So we did sauna and then I'd go lay down in the snow and do snow angels and then go back in the sauna and, it's kind of like a cold plunge in a sauna. So yeah, I do something athletic every single day, whether it's working out or pickleball or something. I'm huge on that. In the summer, I like to go swim in the Gulf a lot. Because it's so beautiful and I like all that
It's
salt
so
water.
beautiful there.
Yeah.
So beautiful there. I mean, have you been there before, John, this Destin water?
I have never been. I mean, I'm hearing you guys talk about it. It sounds like a
Pure
place
white,
that I
right?
have to go.
Kurt, I mean, you walk out there and you have a lot of shelf. Like you can walk out for a while and it's just nice.
Yeah, the snow is, I mean, the sand is amazing. It's like pure white. It's funny because I just said snow because my father-in-law just sent us a video this morning. He was on the beach and the entire beach was covered with snow. And from the video, I told him, I go, it doesn't look any different than normal.
Oh, wow.
Because the sand is almost that white where like from the video, it didn't even look like the beach was covered with snow. It just looked like the normal sand.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be down there in March. I'll have to come say hello to you, buddy.
Yeah, totally.
Sounds like I got to get down there.
Yeah,
So,
it's a cool place. I mean, most people in the Northeast go to South Florida or go into Tampa or something like that. Most of our tourists are from the South or from the Midwest. We don't get many Northeastern people, and we're fine with that. We're actually fine.
Are you going to be there forever? Is this forever
No,
home?
no offense, Philly guys.
Are you going to be there forever, Kurt? Is this your forever home?
I think so. I mean, we have a place in Colorado too. So these are the two places we really love. We really love the mountains of Colorado, and then we really love the beach here. So
while we have you here, I believe you're on the tribal council for GoBundance, and sometimes we talk about GoBundance on this podcast. John is a phenomenal leader within the group as well, and I'm a beneficiary of all you guys' leadership. Tell me why you joined that and why you said yes to being on the tribal council, if you don't mind. Share your story with that.
Yeah, I mean, GoBundance has been a big part of my life. I've been in, I think this is my 8th year, and it's just been such a benefit to my life. I think my family's life, my wife, and just making me think bigger. All the guys that I've met in GoBundance, everybody's just doing cool things. I mean, just such a group of successful guys. And the fact that the group is not just about money. I mean, it's about, our families. It's about, our faith. It's about, being healthy. It's about doing really cool stuff, going on trips, like being adventurous. And I'm into all that stuff. So like it hit everything for me. And I'm just a lifetime member. So like just helping out any way that I can. The tribe, I just said yes. There was no option to say no to that.
Yeah, I know we're closing out here. I want to tell a quick funny story about Kurt. So myself and Kurt and 8 other guys a year and a half ago went on an epic trip to New England. Matt Donnelly almost died, so there was that. But after that, we had this like a bed and breakfast, and there was 10 of us. So I thought we were the only ones in the bed and breakfast. And we were getting picked up at 4:45 or 5 a.m. to go hike Mount Katahdin, which is the highest peak in that area. And it is a big mountain. And it's like 4 a.m. And I had already been up, and at that time I was cold showering. So up in that area, it was freezing. And then I walk in the bathroom as I'm getting ready, and Kurt was filling up a bladder, a water bladder, that you would have in Camelback.
It was a shared bathroom for like the whole floor. It's like one of those old school inns.
Right. And it was a tiny sink, like a really, really tiny sink. One that, doesn't exist even in my house. Tiny sink. And he's trying to fill up the bladder. And I'm like, I walk in, I'm laughing. I go, dude, why didn't you buy like a gallon of water like me? And I just poured it right in. You're trying to fit this bladder in this thing. And as I'm saying that, he drops the bladder and 40 ounces of water just goes all over the floor. And me and him are cracking up. And then apparently there was another couple in there. And this lady, it's like 4 a.m. She comes out of her room and starts screaming at me.
She was so pissed.
Meanwhile, it was Kurt's fault. I took the heat for Kurt that morning.
I've heard about that story of our boy Donley almost dying. We'll have to say that for another. We'll have to get Donley on to share that story. He really probably almost died that trip.
Yeah,
that was scary.
But no, it's great to have you. Will you be in Utah in a few days?
Yes, I'll be there in a few days. I'm excited. Y'all going?
We'll be there.
Let's go.
Sweet.
All right. Final parting thoughts. Is there any way to follow up and to be a part of, or even just learn from you, Kurt? How can our audience follow up with you?
Yeah, I don't have anything to sell, so I'm on Instagram. I like Instagram, Kurt Buc. So at KURT BUC. Try to be fun. Great. Post a lot of stupid stuff.
Hilarious stuff.
Pickleball, politics, money, real estate. I feel like I try to be entertaining.
You are.
You are entertaining.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much. We'll see you.
Thanks, bud.
All right, guys. That was fun.
Damn straight. We just got buddy. We got to the end of another great show. And everyone listening right now, you're the family and friends. Thanks for staying till the end.
That was so fun. And hey, hit the like, hit subscribe. We're here to serve you guys. That's why we're doing this show. Josh is not paying me. I'm doing this off of my quote unquote sweat equity because we want to make a difference in your life. And then that ripple effect will continue to touch the world.
Hey, amen, brother. Please check us out on capitalhacking.com, all the social media threads. And yes, I know you've probably already sent this episode to one of your best friends. Thank you. We love you. Just go right into your iPhone, hit the plus symbol. We'll talk to you later. See you next week.
Share.